I want to talk about Caitlin Clark and the WNBA and a huge mistake that the WNBA has made that the NFL, did not make. Every professional sports league should just take notes on what the NFL does because they set things up and they market players and teams better than any other league in the world. Okay, like they are masters at it. And if the WNBA had done for Caitlin Clark what the NFL is doing for Caleb Williams, then people would be way more excited about Caitlin Clark through her first two games than what they are. The WNBA, for some reason, thought that it would just be a great idea to start Caitlin Clark's career off against two of the best teams in the WNBA, the Connecticut Sun and the New York Liberty. Okay, like these are two of the best teams that are just loaded with awesome players. Meanwhile, the Indiana Fever, there's a reason why they've had the number one overall pick in back-to-back years. Okay? They're like, you know what we should do? We should just start her career off by making her play against two of the best teams in the league, which is certainly an approach, not one that the NFL would have taken, and I'll prove that to you here in just a second. Caitlin Clark is the biggest star in the history of women's basketball. She is such a star that she has brought a new wave of people to the sport. Okay, it was important. Dare I say it was imperative for her to get off to a good start in her WNBA career. Okay? And yeah, and if Caitlin Clark was averaging 28 points and 7 assists a game through her first two games, then she would be can't miss TV for the rest of the season. But instead, the WNBA decided to make that a far-fetched possibility by making the Fever play two of the best teams in the WNBA. So instead of watching Caitlin Clark go nuts, and score 30 points and dish out 8 assists in her first two games, instead, I spent time watching her play incredibly bad. 10 turnovers in her first game, even though she did score 20 points. She didn't shoot the ball very well, but hey, who cares about that? Game 2, she only turns the ball over 3 times, which is much improved, but at the same time, she only scored 9 points. She hasn't played well. The WNBA should have had the Fever play against bad teams to start the season, or at least below average teams. That's what the NFL is doing with Caleb Williams, and it's brilliant. People are going to be invested in Caleb Williams because he's got all this hype. He's the best quarterback prospect we've seen since Andrew Luck. Okay, that's what he is. People are invested in Caleb Williams. Some people want to see him succeed. Other people want to see him fail. Either way, people are going to be locked into Caleb Williams, right? Just like how people are locked in and interested in what Caitlin Clark is going to do this year in the WNBA. So while the WNBA was like, Caitlin Clark, we're going to make you play against some of the best teams and best players right off the rip, the NFL was like, you know what we're going to do for you, Caleb Williams? We're going to make things easy for you. Okay, we're going to set you up to play against teams that are average at best, and then we can work our way back from there, right? We're going to ease you into it slowly. We're going to give you some training wheels, right? Because that's how you learn how to ride a bike, right? You start with the training wheels, right? You do some easier things, and then once you've kind of got the hang of it, you can then take the training wheels off and go full speed ahead. The WNBA was like, hey, Caitlin Clark, we're going to put you on the bike, no helmet, no training wheels. Good luck. But no, the NFL, they're going to coddle Caleb Williams a little bit to start the season. So instead of making Caleb Williams play the Lions and the Ravens and the Chiefs in his first 3 starts, they've decided to make it easy. Put some training wheels on the bike. The Bears are opening with the Titans, who are going to be bad. And I talked about Will Levis a little bit yesterday because Otter Creek, friend of the program, said that he likes Will Levis and thinks he's going to be good. But here's the thing about Will Levis. Will Levis had worse numbers than Anthony Richardson did last year. So if you like Will Levis, then you must love Anthony Richardson, right? So that's who the first team the Bears are going to play this year. They're going to play the Titans, who are probably going to finish last in the AFC South. After playing the Titans, the Bears are going to play the Texans in week 2. That's obviously a step up in competition, but like the Texans, they're going to be good. They're kind of this new, hot, fun team on the block. But once again, it's not the Chiefs. It's not the Bills. It's not the 49ers, right? It's not some juggernaut. Like the Texans are a good football team. They're still young, though, right? That's very much a winnable game for the Bears. And the Texans, like, they're going to be good on defense because they have D'Amico Ryans as their head coach. But this isn't the Ravens defense. This isn't the Seahawks defense, which is going to be really good this year under new head coach McDonald, the former defensive coordinator for the Ravens. Okay? Like, not a super daunting start to the season. And then in week 3, they're going to play the Colts, who, by all accounts, when you look at Vegas and when you look at the national media and kind of what they expect for the Colts, they're going to be pretty average, right? They're probably going to finish somewhere, around 9-8. Maybe they go 10-7, 11-6. That's kind of more of where I like them. Or maybe they go, 7-10. I think that's a real possibility as well. But like week 3, they got the Bears playing the Colts. Like, once again, like, that's not a super great defense or anything like that. They're slowly easing Caleb Williams into his NFL career. And then week 4, this is the first time we see this is going to be the first time we see the Bears play legitimate, like, this team's probably going to make the playoffs. They play the Rams, who aren't that great on defense, right? When you lose a player as good as Aaron Donald, your team takes a step back on that side of the ball. Okay, the first quarter of the season for Caleb Williams, he doesn't play any of the best teams. It's a pretty light schedule, right? And he's not playing a top defense. In fact, Caleb Williams isn't in the Bears. They aren't playing against a team that could go on a deep NFL playoff run until week 11 when the Bears play the Packers. Okay, the NFL has set it up to where Caleb Williams has a pretty easy schedule to start the season. That is what the WNBA should have done for Caitlin Clark. They should have made things as easy as possible. Okay, look, I don't know enough about the WNBA to know who the best teams are and who the worst teams are and things of that nature. What I do know is that the New York Liberty have the reigning MVP from last season. I know that because I watched the game last night. Apparently, when you talk about super teams in the WNBA, there are 2 teams that fit that mold. One of them is the New York Liberty, who the Fever played last night, and I believe that they're playing them again on Saturday night, so tomorrow night. And then they played the Connecticut Sun, who have one of the top 5 favorites to win the MVP in the WNBA this year. I believe that the Connecticut Sun made it to the conference finals last year as well, right? So they're starting Caitlin Clark off by playing the best teams in the league. Why would they do that? Doesn't make any sense. Like, you want her to get off to a good start. You want to build expectations, and you aren't going to do that when you're playing against the best teams in the league in your first 3 games out. It was a mistake made by the WNBA. Caitlin Clark has struggled. I got to be honest, I'm way less invested now than I was before the season started. Okay, like, I was fully prepared to watch Caitlin Clark kind of go nuts, and then the WNBA was like, nah, let's make things really hard on her. It was just a mistake. The WNBA had a real opportunity to market their new star in a very positive light, right? And part of that is just having her play well. That way, when people wake up in the morning and they tune into the Real Jonathan Smith Show or the Dan Dockett Show or First Take or whatever your choice of sports media outlet is, like they should want people saying, "Oh my gosh, Caitlin Clark went nuts last night. Oh, you got to watch her. She's must-see TV." But instead, you got me sitting here like, maybe she'll develop. I don't know. She kind of looks undersized. She's not very long. She's not super quick. It's like she hasn't really created space to get the 3-pointers off. Like, is she going to be a hit? I don't really know. So I just the WNBA missed a great opportunity to market her in a much more positive light. But instead, so whenever I'm doing my prep and I'm in like the actual studio, I turn on First Take because they love to put Tim Legler on right now, who covers the sport of NBA. He covers the NBA really well. I would say he's one of the 4 or 5 best, behind like me and some other guys I don't really know. So, and he, like, that was his thing. He was like, look, like, there's a learning curve, and that's just not what you want people saying about the biggest star that your sport's ever had. Okay? Like, you wanted her to show up and dominate immediately, not get absolutely embarrassed like she has been in these first 2 games. Okay? I think she's going to overcome it in the long run, but things just aren't off to a good start. Momentum is a very real thing, right? And coming off of the national championship appearance, and look, she played really well against South Carolina. Like that momentum carried into the WNBA draft. How do we know that? Because that was the most viewed WNBA draft in history. They set a record, right? And then that momentum kind of carried into their first game against the not even against the Sun in up in Connecticut. People watched the preseason game. Like that's how excited people were. People were tuned into a WNBA preseason game. I was seeing highlights of a WNBA preseason game for the first time in my life on my Twitter timeline. Like people were invested, and that momentum carried into the regular season, and then it hit a brick wall and just stopped because she wasn't very good against the Sun, and it got even worse last night because she wasn't very good against the Liberty either. The WNBA missed a real opportunity to make her look great. So once again, every NBA or every non-NFL league should just watch the NFL and see how they market teams and stars and how they set them up for success because they do it better than any other